The medical ship Mercy glided through the darkness of space. Inside, Dr. Hannah Park stood at the window of her office, looking at the stars. She was tired. The last mission had been hard, with many injured miners from an accident on Moonbase, 7. But they had saved most of them. Hannah was 35 years old with short black hair and steady hands. She was the best trauma surgeon on the ship. Some said she was the best in the whole fleet. She did not care about being the best. She only cared about saving lives. The quiet of her office was broken by a loud alarm. Red lights began to flash. "Doctor, park to the bridge immediately," said a voice over the speaker. Hannah ran through the white hallways of the ship. Other crew members moved out of her way. On the bridge, Captain Day waited with a grim face. "We just got an emergency call from Epsilon 6, he said. "The mining colony there is under attack." "Attack? By who?" Hannah asked. Epsilon 6 was far from any war zones. The captain played the message. On the screen, a man with blood on his face appeared. Behind him, people were screaming. "This is Security Chief Kim of Epsilon 6. We are under attack by some kind of creature. It's killing everyone. We need immediate help. It's fast and strong and—" The man looked over his shoulder, in fear. Then the screen went black. "What was that?" Hannah asked. "We don't know," said Captain Day. "But Epsilon 6 is only 3 hours away at top speed. We're the closest ship. But we're a medical vessel, not a military one," said Dr. Jun, the head doctor. "Those people need help," Hannah said firmly. "We have to go." Captain Day nodded. "We're already on our way. Dr. Park, prepare your medical team. We don't know what we'll find there." 3 hours later, the Mercy arrived at Epsilon 6. The planet was mostly red desert, with the mining colony built in a valley. From orbit, everything looked normal, but no one answered their calls. Hannah led a team of 6 medical staff down to the surface in a small shuttle. 2 security officers came with them, carrying standard weapons. When they landed near the main building, Hannah felt something was very wrong. It was too quiet. The mining equipment stood abandoned. The doors to the main building were torn open. "Stay together," said Min, one of the security officers. They entered the building slowly. Inside, the lights flickered, and then they saw the bodies. "Oh no," whispered Yuri, a young nurse. There were at least 10 dead colonists in the entrance hall. They had not died easily. Their bodies were torn apart with deep claw marks and bite wounds. Blood covered the walls and floor. Hannah knelt beside one body, examining the wounds. "I've never seen anything like this," she said. "These aren't knife wounds. Something bit through these bones." "Look at this," called Min, pointing at strange marks on the floor. They were huge footprints, but not human. Each one had 6 toes ending in what looked like sharp claws. "We need to find survivors," Hannah said, standing up, "and we need to be careful." They moved deeper into the colony, finding more bodies. The attack had been recent. Some of the blood was still wet. They checked each body but found no one alive. Then, they heard a sound from below. "There's a lower level," Min said, checking the building map on the wall. "Probably where they have their emergency shelter." They found stairs leading down and descended carefully. At the bottom was a heavy metal door, dented from the outside as if something had tried to break it down. "Hello?" Min called. "This is security from the medical ship Mercy. Is anyone alive in there?" Silence, then a voice. "How do we know it's really you?" "We came because of your emergency call," Hannah said. "I'm Dr. Park. We're here to help." After a moment, they heard the sound of locks being opened. The door slid open just enough for them to see a man's face, dirty and scared. "Come in quickly," he said. Inside the shelter were 23 survivors huddled together. Many were injured. Some cried quietly. Children held on to their parents. A tall man with a bandaged arm approached them. "I'm Taeho Kim, security chief," he said. "Thank God you came." "What happened here?" Hannah asked, already beginning to check the wounded. Taeho's face darkened. "They called it a Gorehound." "A what?" 3 days ago, a corporate research ship, Arrived. They said they needed to use our lab facilities for some routine tests. We didn't ask questions. The company pays our salaries. He paused. Yesterday we heard screaming from the lab. When we got there, most of the research team was dead and this thing was loose. What kind of creature? Min asked. Like nothing I've ever seen. About 2 meters tall, walks on 2 legs but can run on all 4s. Black skin, almost like armor. 6 claws on each hand and foot. And teeth. Tejo shuddered. It's smart, too. It cut the power to trap people, blocked exits. A woman with a bandaged head spoke up. It's not just an animal, it watches, it plans. Hana moved from patient to patient, treating wounds. One man had deep cuts across his chest. Another had lost an arm. We managed to hurt it, Tejo continued. I hit it with a mining laser. It bled some kind of acid. Burned right through metal. But it escaped into the hills. We need to evacuate everyone to our ship, Hana said. Tejo shook his head. It's still out there. And it's hunting. It already tried to break in here once. One of the survivors, a thin man with glasses, spoke quietly. I worked in the company lab. My name is Sang Min. This thing, the Gorehound, it wasn't supposed to be here. What do you mean? Hana asked. It was supposed to be extinct. The company found DNA samples in an ancient crash site. They wanted to study it. I don't think they meant to bring a live one, but... He looked away. Someone made a mistake. Hana finished bandaging a young woman's leg. Our priority is to get everyone to safety. Just then their communication devices buzzed. It was Captain Day. Dr. Park, we've lost contact with the colony's communication array, and there's a storm coming. We can't send any more shuttles until it passes. Hana looked at Tejo. How long do the storms here usually last? At least 24 hours, he said grimly. Sometimes longer. Hana took a deep breath. Then we're staying here with the survivors until the storm passes, and we need to make sure that thing doesn't get in. As she spoke, they heard a distant sound, something between a roar and a scream. The survivors huddled closer together. A little girl clutched her toy tightly. It's coming back, she whispered. Outside, the wind began to rise as the storm approached, and somewhere in that storm the Gorehound was hunting, waiting for its chance to finish what it had started. Hana looked around at her small medical team, then at the frightened survivors. She was a doctor, trained to save lives. But now she needed to be something more. Because before she could heal anyone, she would have to help them survive the night. The storm outside howled like an angry beast. Inside the shelter, Hana finished treating the last of the injured colonists. Her medical supplies were running low. She wiped sweat from her forehead and looked at Tejo, who stood by the door with a large gun. Your turn, she said, pointing to his bandaged arm. Tejo shook his head. I'm fine. You're not fine. That wound needs cleaning. Hana's voice was firm. After a moment, Tejo nodded and sat down beside her. As she removed the dirty bandage, she saw deep claw marks on his arm. The edges of the wound were strange, slightly discolored and swollen. How did you get this? She asked. Fighting the Gorehound, Tejo said. It was trying to kill Jinnah. He nodded toward a woman sitting against the wall, her leg bandaged. She's my second in command. Jinnah looked up when she heard her name. She was young, but had serious eyes. It would have killed me if Tejo hadn't shot it, she said. Hana cleaned Tejo's wound carefully. This doesn't look like a normal infection, she said. I need to take a sample. She took a small device from her medical bag and collected cells from the wound edge. The device beeped as it analyzed the sample. There's something strange in your blood, Hana said, looking at the results. Some kind of foreign cells. From across the room, Sangmin spoke up. The Gorehound's blood might be contaminating the wound. Is it dangerous? Tejo asked. Sangmin hesitated. I don't know. The research team didn't tell me everything about the creature. Hana finished bandaging Tejo's arm with clean material. We need to know more about this thing, she said. Especially if its blood can cause infections. The shelter suddenly went quiet as a loud thump came from outside the door. Everyone froze. Tae-ho grabbed his gun. Another thump, then silence. After a few minutes, Tae-ho looked through a small camera that showed the outside hallway. "Nothing there now," he said. "But it's testing our defenses." "We can't stay here forever," Jinna said. "Our food will last maybe 3 more days, and we have injured people who need better care than we can give them here." Tae-ho nodded slowly. "You're right. But we can't leave with that thing out there." He turned to the other survivors. "We need to hunt it down and kill it." Some of the colonists looked afraid. Others nodded in agreement. "I'll go with you," Jinna said, trying to stand despite her injured leg. "No," Hana said. "You need to rest that leg." "I'll go," said Min, one of the security officers from the Mercy. "This creature has killed too many people already." In the end, 5 people agreed to join the hunting party. Tae-ho, Min, 2 colonists, named Dae-jung and Yuri, and to everyone's surprise, Hana herself. "You're a doctor, not a hunter," Tae-ho said. "Exactly," Hana replied. "If anyone gets hurt out there, they'll need me, and I want to collect samples of this creature. The more we know about it, the better we can treat its victims." They couldn't change her mind. The hunting party prepared to leave the next morning when the storm would be weaker. They gathered weapons, mining lasers, cutting tools, and the guns that Min and Tae-ho carried. That night, Hana couldn't sleep. She sat against the wall, watching the tired faces of the survivors. Sang-min came and sat beside her. "The company will try to cover this up," he said quietly. "They always do when things go wrong." "What company?" Hana asked. "Nova Corp. They own this colony, the research ship, everything." Sang-min looked down at his hands. "I worked for them for 10 years. They said we were studying extinct species to help understand evolution. But I think they wanted the Gorehound for something else." "Like what?" "Its ability to heal," Sang-min said. "It can recover from wounds that would kill any other creature, and its strength and speed are far beyond normal. Imagine a soldier with those abilities." Hana felt cold. "They were making weapons." Sang-min nodded. "I think so, but this one escaped before they could control it." Morning came, though it was hard to tell in the windowless shelter. The storm had weakened enough for them to leave. The hunting party prepared their gear and weapons. "Be careful," Jinna told Tae-ho as he checked his gun. "Always am," he replied with a small smile. Hana packed medical supplies and sample collection. Tools. She wasn't a fighter, but she knew how to save lives. And the samples she could collect might help them understand and defeat the Gorehound. They left the shelter cautiously. The hallways were still dark with only emergency lights working. They moved slowly, checking each room and corner. The main building was quiet. Too quiet. They found more bodies, now cold and stiff. Near the entrance, they saw the large footprints again, leading outside. "It left the building," Dae-jung said. Outside, the sky was dark red from the storm. The wind had died down, but dust filled the air. They could see the footprints in the dirt heading toward the hills. "It's going back to its hiding place," Tae-ho said. "Let's follow it." They tracked the creature for an hour across the red landscape. The hills were full of caves and old mining tunnels, perfect hiding places for a predator. "Look," Yuri said, pointing to the ground. There were drops of dark liquid on the rocks. "Is that its blood?" Hana knelt and took a sample with a sterile tool. The blood was thick and dark green. When it touched the rock, it made a quiet hissing sound and left small burn marks. "Acid," Hana said. "Be careful not to touch it." They followed the blood trail into the hills. The drops became more frequent. The creature was bleeding heavily. "It's wounded," Tae-ho said. "That gives us an advantage." They came to a deep cave. The blood trail led inside. They turned on their lights and looked at each other. No one wanted to go first. "I'll lead," Tae-ho said finally. "Min, cover the rear. Hana, stay in the middle where it's safest." They entered the dark cave slowly. The air inside was cold and damp. Their lights made long shadows on the walls. The blood trail continued deeper into the cave. After walking for several minutes, the cave opened into a larger chamber. Their lights showed old mining equipment abandoned years ago, and on the far side of the chamber something moved in the shadows. There, Dae-jung whispered, pointing. Their lights found it. The Gorehound was even more terrifying than Hana had imagined. It was huge, with black skin that looked like armor. Its head had no eyes that she could see, but it had a mouth full of sharp teeth. It stood on 2 legs with long arms ending in 6 clawed hands. A wound on its side leaked green blood. The creature let out a low growl when the lights hit it. Then, faster than Hana thought possible, it leaped toward them. "Fire!" Tae-ho shouted. The cave filled with light and noise as they fired their weapons. The Gorehound screamed, a sound that made Hana's blood run cold. But it didn't stop. It crashed into Dae-jung, sending him flying across the cave. Then it turned, toward the others. Min fired his gun again and again. The creature's skin seemed to absorb the shots, but it screamed when they hit. It ran at Min too fast to avoid. Its claws tore through his uniform and into his chest. "No!" Hana cried, running toward Min as he fell. The Gorehound turned toward her. For a moment, Hana was frozen in fear. Then Tae-ho fired his gun at the creature's head. It screamed again and backed away, then turned and ran deeper into the cave. "After it!" Yuri shouted, but Tae-ho held up his hand. "No. We need to help the wounded first." Hana was already kneeling beside Min. His chest was torn open. Blood pooled around him. His eyes were open, but empty. "He's gone," Hana said. Her voice breaking. Dae-jung was alive but badly hurt. His arm was broken and he had deep cuts on his legs. "We need to get back to the shelter," Hana said, treating Dae-jung's wounds as best she could. "But the creature," Yuri began. "We'll still be here," Tae-ho finished. "And now it knows we're hunting it." They carried Dae-jung back toward the colony, moving as fast as they could. The sun was setting, making the red landscape even darker. Behind them, in the growing darkness, they heard the Gorehound scream. It was following them, and night was coming. Night had fallen by the time they reached the colony. They ran through the darkness, carrying Dae-jung between them. Behind them, they could hear the Gorehound moving, sometimes far away, sometimes closer. It was playing with them, Hana thought, like a cat with mice. When they finally reached the shelter, Jinnah opened the door quickly. They rushed inside, and the heavy door closed just as they heard the creature's scream from the hallway outside. "What happened?" Jinnah asked, looking at Dae-jung's bloody body and the empty space where Min had been. "We found it," Tae-ho said simply. His face was hard and tired. "Min is dead." The survivors fell silent. Another loss. Another friend gone. Hana worked quickly to treat Dae-jung's wounds. His arm was broken in 2 places and the deep cuts on his legs needed many stitches. She used the last of their strong pain medicine to help him. "Will he live?" Yuri asked. "Yes," Hana said, "but he won't be able to walk for a while." While Dae-jung slept, Hana took out the sample she had collected from the Gorehound's blood. She had a small medical analyzer in her kit, but it wasn't designed for alien biology. "I need a better lab," she said, frustrated. "There's a research lab in the West Wing," Sang-min said. "If it's not destroyed, it might have what you need." Tae-ho shook his head. "Too dangerous. That thing is still out there." "I need to understand what we're fighting," Hana said. "And I saw how its blood burned the rocks. What if that's happening inside Tae-ho's wound?" Everyone looked at Tae-ho's bandaged arm. He thought for a moment, then nodded. "I'll take you to the lab. Jinnah, you're in charge until we get back." Jinnah didn't like it, but she agreed. Tae-ho and Hana prepared to leave, taking only what they needed. "Be careful," Jinnah told them. "That thing is smart. It learns." They left the shelter, moving silently through the dark hallways. Every shadow seemed to hide danger. Every sound made them freeze. But they saw no sign of the creature as they made their way to the West Wing. The research lab was intact, though. The power was off. Tai-Ho found the emergency generator and started it. Lights flickered on, revealing a large, clean room full of equipment. "This is better than I expected," Hana said, looking at the advanced machines. She set up her samples and began to work. The lab had powerful microscopes and analyzers. She could see the Gorehound cells clearly now. What she saw made her gasp. "What is it?" Tai-Ho asked, keeping watch at the door. "These cells, they're not like anything I've seen before. They're changing as I watch them." Hana worked quickly, running tests and studying the results. Meanwhile, Tai-Ho found a computer that still worked. He turned it on and began searching through files. "Look at this," he called. "Records of the research. Team's work." Hana came over and they read the files together. What they found horrified them. The Gorehound wasn't just found, Hana said. It was created. The files showed that NovaCorp had discovered alien DNA samples in an ancient crash site, but instead of just studying them, they had mixed the DNA with human genes to create a new life form. Their goal was to make the perfect weapon, something with human intelligence and alien strength. They were playing God, Tai-Ho said angrily, and now we're all paying for it. Hana returned to her tests, now understanding more of what she was seeing. "The Gorehound's cells can adapt to almost anything," she said. "That's why our weapons didn't kill it. It learns from each attack and gets stronger." "Is there any way to kill it?" Tai-Ho asked. Before Hana could answer, they heard a noise from the hallway outside. They froze. Tai-Ho raised his gun. The door opened slowly, and they prepared for the worst. But it was Sang-min who entered, his hands raised to show he meant no harm. "I followed you," he admitted. "I worked in this lab. I can help." Tai-Ho lowered his gun. "Why didn't you tell us everything before?" Sang-min looked ashamed. "I was afraid. The company made us sign papers saying we would never talk about our work. They said they would put us in prison if we did." "People are dying," Hana said. "No paper is worth that." Sang-min nodded. "I know. That's why I'm here now." He went to the computer and typed in a password. New files appeared. Files that had been hidden. They didn't just want a weapon, he said. They wanted to make soldiers who could heal from any wound, fight longer and harder than normal humans. The Gorehound was just a test. "But it got out of control," Tai-Ho said. "Yes, it was smarter than they expected, and its need to hunt was too strong." Sang-min looked at Hana's samples. "Its cells can divide and change faster than any Earth animal, and they can affect human cells too." Hana thought of Tai-Ho's wound. "You mean it can infect people?" "In a way. Its blood can change human DNA, slowly turning a person into something like itself." Tai-Ho looked at his arm with new fear. "Am I turning into one of those things?" "The process is slow," Sang-min said, "and it might not work at all. Your body is fighting it." Hana went back to her tests with new urgency. "We need to make something that can kill it, some kind of poison maybe." "Its cells adapt too quickly," Sang-min said. "Any poison we make, it would soon become immune to." Hana thought, hard. "Then we need something that changes as fast as it does, something that can keep up with its adaptations." As they talked, the lights flickered. The emergency generator was failing. "We don't have much time," Tai-Ho said. "We should get back to the shelter." Hana collected her samples and the data they had found. As they prepared to leave, the computer made a sound. A message was coming through. "It's from orbit," Sang-min said in surprise. "The communication system is working again." It was a message from the Mercy. The storm had cleared enough for them to send a rescue shuttle. They would arrive in 6 hours. "We need to warn them," Hana said. "If they land without knowing about the Gorehound, they could all be killed." Tai-Ho tried to send a reply, but the system failed. "Power's gone," he said. "We need to get to the main communication array and send a message from there." "Where is it?" Hana asked. "On the roof of the main building." They looked at each other. Going to the roof meant crossing the whole colony, with the Gorehound hunting them. "We have to try," Hana said. "We can't let more people die." They gathered, what they needed, and prepared to leave. But as they reached the door, they heard a sound that made their blood run cold. The low growl of the Gorehound, right outside the lab. "It found us," Tejo whispered, raising his gun. The door burst open. The Gorehound stood there, even more terrifying up close. Its wound was already healing. It looked at them with a head that had no eyes, yet somehow saw everything. Tejo fired his gun. The shots hit the creature, but it barely slowed down. It leaped into the room with frightening speed. Hana and Sang-min ran to the back door while Tejo kept firing. The creature screamed in pain but kept coming. "Run!" Tejo shouted, backing toward them. They fled through the back door and into a narrow hallway. The Gorehound crashed through equipment trying to follow them. They ran as fast as they could, hearing it behind them. At a junction, Sang-min pointed left. "This way leads to the roof." They turned and kept running. Behind them, the Gorehound's screams echoed through the empty hallways. It was coming for them, and they were running out of time. They ran through the dark hallways, the sounds of the Gorehound close behind them. Tejo stopped at a corner and turned to fire his gun again. The creature screamed in pain but kept coming. "It's not stopping," Sang-min shouted. "This way." Hana pointed to a narrow stairway. They rushed up the stairs, hearing the Gorehound crash into the wall below. It was too big for the narrow passage. At the top of the stairs, they found themselves in what had once been living quarters for the researchers. Tables and chairs were overturned. Blood stained the walls. "The roof access is through there," Sang-min said, pointing to another door. They ran for it, but suddenly Hana tripped over a fallen chair and went down hard. She cried out as she fell, her hand landing in a pool of dark green liquid on the floor. "Hana!" Tejo turned back and helped her. Are you hurt?" "I'm fine," she said, but then looked at her hand in horror. It was covered in the Gorehound's blood. The acid burned her skin and she quickly wiped it off on her clothes. But she knew some had entered the small cuts on her palm. They heard a crash from below. The Gorehound was breaking through the narrow stairway. "Come on." Tejo grabbed her arm and they ran. They reached the roof access door and climbed the ladder to the roof. The night air was cold on their faces. The stars shone bright above them, and they could see the red landscape of Epsilon 6 stretching into the distance. In the center of the roof stood the communication array, a tall antenna with a control panel at its base. "Cover me," Sang-min said, running to the panel. "I know how to work this." Tejo aimed his gun at the roof access door, waiting for the Gorehound to appear. Hana looked at her hand. The skin was red and blistered where the blood had touched it. Already she could feel a strange tingling spreading up her arm. "How long to send the message?" Tejo asked. "A few minutes," Sang-min replied, working quickly at the panel. "I need to power it up first." The tingling in Hana's arm was getting stronger. She felt hot, then cold. Something was happening inside her body. She remembered what Sang-min had said about the Gorehound's blood changing human DNA. "Sang-min," she called, her voice shaking. "The blood? I touched it. What's going to happen to me?" Sang-min looked up from the panel, his face pale. "I don't know exactly. It affects everyone differently." "Tell me the truth," Hana demanded. Sang-min looked away. The researchers who were exposed, they changed, became stronger, faster. Then they started to lose themselves, became violent. "Like the Gorehound," Tejo said quietly. "Yes," Sang-min admitted, "but it took days. We still have time." A loud bang came from the roof access door. The Gorehound was coming. "Hurry!" Tejo shouted to Sang-min. Hana's vision blurred. The pain in her hand was fading, replaced by a strange new feeling. She could hear better now, the sound of the Gorehound climbing the ladder, the hum of the communication array powering up, even Tejo's rapid heartbeat. Her senses were changing. "It's working," Sang-min called. "I'm sending the message now." The roof access door burst open. The Gorehound emerged, its black body gleaming in the starlight. It seemed bigger now, its wounds almost healed. It turned, its eyeless head toward them and let out a low growl. Tejo fired his gun. The shots hit the creature's chest, but it barely slowed it down. It charged toward them. "Message sent," Sangmin shouted. The Gorehound leaped at Sangmin, its claws extended. Without thinking, Hana threw herself between them. Time seemed to slow down. She could see every detail of the creature, the pattern of its skin, the acid dripping from its claws. She raised her hands to protect herself, moving faster than she ever had before. The Gorehound's claws cut into her shoulder, but she barely felt the pain. She pushed back with surprising strength, knocking the creature off balance. "Run!" she shouted to Sangmin and Taiho. "Get back to the shelter!" They stared at her in shock. Taiho fired his gun again, hitting the Gorehound's head. It screamed and backed away. "Now!" Hana yelled. "I'll hold it off." "We're not leaving you!" Taiho shouted back. The Gorehound recovered and charged again. This time, all three of them ran to the edge of the roof. Below was a lower section of the building. "Jump!" Taiho ordered. They leaped down to the lower roof. The Gorehound followed, landing heavily behind them. They ran toward another access door, hoping to get back inside the building. Hana's body was changing minute by minute. Her wound was already closing. She could see clearly in the dark now, and her muscles felt stronger. But with these changes came something else, a growing hunger, a desire to hunt, to kill. She fought against these new instincts as they rushed through the door and back into the building. They ran down more hallways, trying to find their way back to the shelter. "This way," Taiho said, turning a corner. But they found themselves in a dead end, a small storage room with no other exit. Behind them, they could hear the Gorehound coming. "We're trapped," Sangmin said, his voice breaking with fear. Hana looked at her hands. The skin was changing, becoming harder. Her nails were longer, sharper. She was turning into something else. "Listen to me," she said urgently. "I'm changing, the blood is changing me, but I'm still me, still human for now." "What are you saying?" Taiho asked. "I'm a doctor. I understand biology. Maybe I can use what's happening to me." She looked at the door. "I'll distract it, you two run for the shelter." "That's suicide," Taiho said. "Maybe not." Hana touched her shoulder where the Gorehound had cut her. The wound was almost healed. "It seems to be interested in me now. It can sense the changes. Maybe it recognizes something like itself." The sound of the Gorehound was getting closer. "Please," Hana said. "Trust me. Get back to the shelter and prepare everyone for evacuation. The rescue shuttle will be here in 6 hours." Taiho looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "What's your plan?" "I'm going to lead it away from the shelter, then I'll try to get to the lab. If the Gorehound's blood is changing me, maybe I can find a way to stop it or use it." "You'll need this," Taiho said, handing her his gun. "There's not much power left, but it might help." Hana took the gun. Her hand was steady, despite everything happening inside her body. "Be careful," Sangmin told her. "Go," she said. "Now." Taiho and Sangmin moved to the door, ready to run. Hana took a deep breath and stepped out into the hallway. The Gorehound was there just a few meters away. It stopped when it saw her, its head tilting to one side. "Hey!" Hana shouted, firing the gun at the ceiling. "Follow me." She ran in the opposite direction from the shelter. The Gorehound hesitated, then chased after her. Behind her, she heard Taiho and Sangmin running the other way. Hana ran faster than she ever had before. Her body was changing, becoming something new. But her mind was still her own. She was still a doctor, still human. And she would use every bit of her medical knowledge to understand what was happening to her. Because if she was becoming like the Gorehound, maybe she could learn its weaknesses, and maybe, just maybe, she could find a way to kill it before she lost herself completely. She ran through the dark halls of the colony, the creature close behind her. Every minute she could feel more changes in her body, but with them came new strength, new understanding. The hunter had just become the hunted, and Hana intended to use that to save everyone she could. Hana ran through the empty hallways of the colony, her mind racing faster than her body. The Gorehound followed her, sometimes close, sometimes hanging back. It was curious about her now, sensing the changes in her body. She headed for the research lab. It was her only hope. There, she might find something to help her understand what was happening and how to stop it. Her body felt strange and new. Her wounds had healed completely. Her senses were sharper than ever before. She could smell. The Gorehound behind her could hear its claws on the floor. In the darkness, she could see every detail of the hallway. But with these new abilities came dark urges. A hunger growing inside her. A voice in her mind that whispered to hunt, to kill. She fought against it, holding on to who she was. A doctor. A healer, not a monster. She reached the lab and rushed inside, locking the door behind her. It wouldn't hold the Gorehound for long, but she needed time. She went to the equipment she had used earlier and began working quickly. First, she took a sample of her own blood. Under the microscope, she could see the changes. Her cells were different now, half human and half something else. The Gorehound's blood had changed her DNA just as Sang-min had warned. But there was something Sang-min hadn't known. Something Hana could see with her medical training. The Gorehound's blood wasn't just changing her. It was fighting with her human cells. And her body was fighting back. "That's it," she whispered. "It's not a one-way change. It's a battle." A loud bang on the door interrupted her thoughts. The Gorehound was trying to get in. She didn't have much time. Hana worked frantically, using the lab equipment to test her blood. She needed to understand the process before the change went too, far before she lost herself. The door shook as the Gorehound hit it again and again. Metal bent and twisted. It would break through soon. Hana looked at the test results. The Gorehound's cells were trying to take over her body, but her human immune system was fighting back. It wasn't strong enough to win, but it was slowing the process. "If I could make my immune system stronger," she said to herself. "Or if I could trick the Gorehound's cells somehow." An idea came to her. A dangerous, desperate idea, but it might work. She found chemicals in the lab and began mixing them. She remembered her medical training, all the years of study and practice. This was like creating a vaccine, but much more complex and dangerous. The door broke open. The Gorehound stood there, its large body filling the doorway. It watched her with its eyeless head, not attacking yet. Just watching. Hana worked faster. The creature moved into the room, getting closer. She could feel its interest in her. It recognized something of itself in her now. "Stay back," she said, though she knew it couldn't understand her words. Surprisingly, it stopped. It tilted its head, listening to her voice. Then it made a sound. Not a growl or a scream, but something softer. Almost like it was trying to speak. Hana finished mixing the chemicals. She had created 2 injections, one for herself and one for the Gorehound. It was ready. But before she could use them, the lab shook with a massive sound from outside. The rescue shuttle was arriving early. Through the window, she could see its lights in the night sky as it descended toward the colony. The Gorehound turned toward the window, distracted by the noise and lights. Hana knew what would happen if it reached the shuttle. More death. More victims. "No," she said firmly. "This ends now." She stepped toward the creature. It turned back to her, sensing her movement. Hana stood tall, fighting against the animal instincts growing inside her. "I know what you are," she said. "I know what I'm becoming, but I won't let it happen." The Gorehound moved closer, its claws extended. Hana didn't run. She watched it approach, waiting for the right moment. "You were made by humans," she continued. "A weapon that got out of control. But I'm going to fix their mistake." The creature was very close now. Hana could feel its hot breath. It raised its clawed hand, ready to strike. In that moment, Hana moved with her new speed and strength. She injected herself with one of the mixtures she had made. Pain shot through her body as the chemicals entered her bloodstream. The Gorehound struck, its claws cutting into her arm. But Hana didn't fall. She grabbed its arm, holding it with strength that matched the creature's own. Then she drove the second injection deep into the Gorehound's body. The creature screamed and pulled away. It stumbled back, confused by what had happened. Hana felt her own body beginning to change again. The injection was working, strengthening, her human cells helping them fight against the alien DNA. The Gorehound shook its head. It seemed disoriented. Then it looked at Hana again and roared in anger. It charged at her with all its strength. Hana met its charge. They crashed together, with incredible force. The Gorehound's claws tore at her, but her wounds healed almost instantly. She fought back, using everything she had learned from the creature's own biology. They fought across the lab, breaking equipment and smashing tables. The Gorehound was stronger, but Hana was smarter. She knew what was happening inside both their bodies now. The injection she had given the creature was working too. It was designed to attack the human DNA that had been used to create the Gorehound. Without that DNA, the creature couldn't maintain its form. The Gorehound began to weaken. Its movements became slower. Parts of its body seemed to melt and reform, unable to stay stable. It screamed in pain and confusion. In a final desperate attack, it lunged at Hana, driving its claws deep into her chest. Pain exploded through her body, but she didn't fall. Instead, she grabbed the creature's head with both hands and pressed her forehead against its eyeless face. "It's over," she whispered. The Gorehound shuddered. Its body began to collapse in on itself as the human DNA that held it together broke down. It fell to the floor, still trying to fight, but growing weaker by the second. Hana watched as the creature that had killed so many people, the monster they should have killed long ago, finally died. Its body dissolved into a pool of dark liquid that slowly hardened and turned to dust. She staggered back, looking down at her own body. The wounds were healing, but differently now. Her human cells were winning the battle inside her. The changes were reversing. Pain washed over her as her body fought to return to normal. She fell to her knees, gasping for breath. But she knew she would live. She would be human again. Changed forever by what had happened, but still herself. Outside, she heard voices. The rescue team had arrived. Through the broken door, she saw Tejo leading them toward the lab. His face showed shock when he saw her, covered in blood but alive. "Hana?" he called, rushing to her side. "What happened? Where's the Gorehound?" She looked at the pile of dust on the floor. "It's gone," she said simply. "It's over." As the rescue team helped her up, Hana thought about what she had learned, about the creature, about herself, and about what humans were capable of, both the terrible and the wonderful. She had samples of the Gorehound's blood and data about what had happened to her own body. With that knowledge, she could help medicine, advance in ways no one had imagined, not as weapons but as healing. The rescue shuttle would take them away from this place, away from the death and horror. But Hana knew she would carry the experience with her forever, a reminder of what happens when science forgets about humanity, and as a doctor, as a healer, she would make sure that the monster's legacy would be life, not death.